D4 for the score from Magnesium Carlsodium. We get knight f6 from Maxime Vachier-Lagrave. C4, the most explosive move. G6, building the banana hammock. And now, here we go. H4 on the board. Andrea starts spinning the beats at this overpowered move. Shocking opening from Magnus, but it just gets better deep in the game. This is the Global Chess League. Over the board, time scrambles galore. We love it, although increment would probably help. Now, what do we see from MVL here? He brings this bishop onto the long diagonal with a va-va-voom. Watch the battle on the dark squares in this game. Love it, because after Magnus develops a pony here, softly nickering, now we see d6, a king's Indian defense. Love it, rarely seen at the top level. Magnus takes the center here, a trio of dragons guided down the board by Daenerys. Now knight c6 played and a seahorse is born. Maxime making the horsey noises in French, of course. Magnus brings the final horseman of the apocalypse into the game. We see castles, f3 on the board, and e5, the classic strike. Magnus responds by taking the space and unlocks a massive prize after connecting the pawns in a big connect 4. Cinema tickets for 2 with Hans Niemann. What a prize. Now we see knight d4 played and it offers a pawn. Hang about. Can't you do this, this and this? Well, no. Then there's the great move of knight e4, opening the bishop. And the point being, if queen takes, then bang, you're getting absolutely kebabbed down the e-file. So we didn't see the knight captured. Bishop e3 played instead, and now we don't see takes on e2, which you might be expecting, but instead things sharpen up because Maxime pushes the c pawn here and he allows Magnus, with a smile, to play en croissant. On the board there, he whispers it in a French accent. MVL cracking up, really appreciating the effort from Magnus, and he recaptures with the b pawn, creating that pawn to c ships move. Now we see takes on d4. Why is black sacrificing a massively important central pawn? Well, bang, this is the point here. He wants to destroy the monarch in the center with rookie on f8, and that's why Magnus captures like this with a gobble gobble noise and then pushes e5 to keep things closed. What does MVL do? Move the knight, but puts it here on the edge of the board, ignoring the famous chess adage, der Springer on dem Rimmer is an absolute Wiener Schnitzel. Now Magnus is worried about that dark square, so in response to this move, he plays the overpowered King to f2, semi-bomb cloud. And look at the reaction here of the fair play officer at this tournament.
What? Pooh. What a move. What a move.
Yes, Big Bad Vlad knows what a move this is. We see rook e8 in response, converging on the extra pawn, and Magnus does not try and defend it. You know, queen e2 or something, you're wandering into f6. No good. So queen d2, battling for the dark squares here. Love it. The pawn drops off the board. Magnus takes, rook recaptures, bye-bye bishop pair for both players. d4 is a desirable move, especially how you liberate this one. So Magnus blockades and hits the rook. Does a poker face here. Hopes MVL won't see it, but he does. He defends with queen f6. However, queen d6 was better. You don't wander into a pin here. What a Trey naughty boy. Now we see rook d1 attacking that central isolated pawn. Bishop b7 covers, and now an excellent move from Magnus. Looks over aggressive, but g4 absolutely called for, because although you give up this square and the knight hops right in, now there's this excellent move which Magnus finds of rook e1, a quiet sliding move hitting the rook, and you can't take here or else your queen drops. It's undefended. This is why it was better on d6, and of course when you take, doesn't happen with check, and this sets a cunning trap. If you double the rooks, how natural does that look? Then you see the bar rising over here. Stock Squid hates it because king g3 comes, and you're attacking this knight twice. It can't be defended, so you have to retreat it. But where to? You've got no squares. Knight e6 the only one. But then the rook drops. You've interrupted the connection. And of course, if you try to do this first, then move the knight, no good. Queen drops. These are the problems. But okay, MVL sees it. We'll come away from the back cave. He goes rook e6. Now these queens leave the board. Few of Magnus's fans start bleating away. They know he's the endgame goat, loves to grind like a grandma. And now we see king to g3, attacking the pony. Rook b8 now played. The mysterious rook move, staring at a bishop. Why is MVL doing it? Well, to freak Magnus out, really get in his head. Great way to disturb your opponent, make a random rook move. But however, rook h2, Magnus has seen deeper. He sees what MVL's real idea was. Now we see h6, rook d2. There's one way to activate. Magnus whispers, do you even rook lift, bro? And after king g7, rook e5, look at this massive chocolate party. All the dark squares covered. It's like two Oompa Loompas sat at the chessboard. Bishop c6 played. Opens the eyes of that cannon on b8. So Magnus goes b3, MVL, now, for a giggle, says the same as Magnus. Do you even rook lift, Frere? I messed it up. And now we see knight e2. Magnus with the horseplay here, and what an absolute stunner of a combination this is. He hits the knight on f4. MVL doesn't take. He plays the tricky rook e6, saying, okay, if you take my knight, I'm going to take your rook. Does Magnus take the rook on e6? No, he doesn't. He really sharpens things up now. Plays the double exclam, brilliancy. Knight takes on f4. What a move there. This is why he practices with his hobby horse back in Oslo. This is what he visualizes. It's moments like this. This is why he's re-entered the 75th annual Oslo Hobby Horse Convention this year. Get your tickets. Why has he done this move? Well, now if captures, which is played, by the way, well, this one here finishes the Tour de Horse, goes to Forkville, population MVL, and that's how you're winning back your exchange. Or are you? Rook d4, pin and win, baby. Take my rook, I take your rook. But Magnus should have done it and didn't. This was the line. This is what you've got to do. Chicken stock cube shows it. And okay, game goes on. This is one way to set up a rock solid fortress. You're going to be able to blockade and the king comes round. Should be a level position. But it wasn't played. Magnus didn't take. He wants his cake and eat it. He goes rook c2. So he hits the bishop and he's still hitting the rook. But he completely forgets rook e6 can simply be played, covering both threats at the same time. Absolutely shocking from Magnus Carlsen. He's caught blunderitis from Anish Giri, but should be noted that at this moment Magnus was remembering this game. Played between Nodebek and Vidit. They're going for the epic king shuffle in time pressure here. What a beautiful sight. Dancing across the board there. This is modern chess. This is what we go for. So Magnus so distracted, remembering that game, blunders, and now he's simply an exchange down. What to do? Well, re-Boncloud the king, of course. a5, knight c5, rook attacked, saved. Pogo stick the king back. Many top grandmasters actually like to pogo stick in their spare time. Helps them practice their defensive technique. And now we see rook df4. The pawn covered by the miserable bishop. The rook slides back. MVL having fun. Knight d3. Defensive octopus, but rook b6 simply. Knight e5 played. That one hopping about like a crazy Kermit. Rook e6 attacks. Now f4 supports and f6 in response. Hans Feingold loves it. What a move. Absolutely overpowered. And look at the two armies facing down each other. The king is the general for both of the pieces. Now we see knight f3 headed for the blockading square. Rook e3 invading. Rook d2. Now a4 on the board and it's softening up that pawn structure. What does Magnus do? Obviously re-Bonclouds the king, or semi-Boncloud, right? The pure Bonclouds on e2, and after this rook is attacked, surely you move it, right? No siree. Things now really take a turn because MVL takes on b3. Apologies if you can hear the rain hammering down here Raining cats and dogs here in Europe, UK, floods everywhere. We're cracking on with the chess. Magnus could recapture, but then rook takes and you're a clean pawn down. So he takes the rook, offered, thank you very much, makes a gobble noise. Now we see b2 played and it's going through, right, making a baby girl. Magnus has to stop it. Now it hits the delivery suite, snapped off the board, rook recaptures and knight d4. Wow, it's hammering it down with rain. Okay, we're cracking on. The bishop is attacked here. It retreats back. Wouldn't you love a rook on c7 now, right now? You could go to Forktown, but no. g5 played by Magnus. There's no options for tricks. He exchanges some pawns here. This one recaptures, and after rook b2, hitting the bishop, saved, losing a pawn, the writing's on the wall. King f4, waltzing round, attacking the pawn. But after king e7, you just can't get bishop g2. So bishop f1 played, rook a3, looking to do some invasion on e3, g3. So king f4 covers those squares. Now bishop a6, and what to do? Exchange, fine, but it's a lost endgame. Bishop g2 played, hits the pawn, but after king d6, Magnus resigns to MVL, who's been struggling. Terrible blunder from Magnus Carlsen. Hope you enjoyed this one. I'm going to go and grab a brolly in this lovely weather for ducks, and I hope to see you again soon. Cheers.